Yo, you can rent a hero. It's like Rent a Girlfriend anime, but you can rent a hero every month. Sorry.
Cue the opening music.
What's up, guys? Welcome to podcast number 17. Today, I have quite a few new faces here. Yeah, we have Mace. Generally, you don't stream on Twitch, right? Generally, you make YouTube videos, I think.
Yeah, mostly YouTube.
So, YouTube, someone from YouTube here, and then Tao, which is casual free-to-play player. And Kenny, as you guys probably know, he's been in my podcast before. I'll let them introduce themselves in that order: Mace, Tao, Kenny, and you guys get to know them a bit better.
All right, hey guys, I'm Mace. I make YouTube videos, like Sky King said, mostly RTA, a little bit of Guild War. I started playing Epic 7, I think, right after the SSB banner ended, so that was a traumatic year for me before the rerun. But I've been enjoying it a lot. Been climbing RTA. Tried for Legend last season, almost got it. So hopefully I'll get it this season.
Cool.
Tao.
Hi, I'm Tao. I'm kind of casual free-to-play player. I started with the first Dizzy banner, so life has been really good as a free-to-play with that. I played RTA a little bit casually. I skipped season 1, but last season I played for the Flitty skin, and I realized it's kind of fun, so I started playing a little bit. And I got a champ border last season, but I'm on and off, always thinking about whether I want to push for Legend or not. But it's hard as free to play with limited pool and limited gear. Yeah.
Kenny.
What's up, guys? My name is Ken. I go by Kenny14 and E7. Played a bunch of other games or other mobile games. You guys might have seen my name. Played 7DS, Guardian Tales. I was on the podcast, I think, 2 weeks ago. Made Legend RTA in season 2, and I played TFT and like other shooter games on the side. So yeah.
All right, thank you. And hopefully, you guys enjoy this podcast today. And we'll just get started here. So, topic number 1 is just gonna be a little bit of an older unit. Well, older. What are your thoughts on Fairy Tail Tenebria now? Usages in RTA, Guild Wars, Arena, or have you seen her been used a lot? What do you feel like as a unit?
Yeah,
I think she's pretty strong.
Yeah, I think she's pretty freaking insane. I think like it's one of those units where you expect her to fill a certain unit slot with another like unit, right? Very comparable to like a unit like Basar. But not only is she in that slot with Basar, who's just a really strong unit, she's also able to be picked alongside Basar, right? So all the comps that I talked about in that last podcast with, Basar plus ML Taiwan and ML Crow, you can slot in ML or Fairy Tail Tenebria in there too, and that team works just as well. I do so every 2 months I do like a Fleet in-house tourney with all the Legend players in Fleet and Mori, and in the tourney that I did most recently, I think last week, we saw FT Tenebria be picked probably around 60% of the time. So she's very, very viable, especially in the higher Legend RTA like meta comps. Arena, I think she's pretty good as well. It's another Basar unit that strips Kairon better, right? So we just take those, right? And then she's also good into like the FCC and T-Serin comps that we see pretty frequently in Arena defense.
I think she's going to be strong in all the brackets of RTA. Just as you move up, you're just going to have to make her faster so that she can take turn 1. But the fact that she has that reverse provoke is a huge momentum swing. And so if you pair her with other aggressive DPS characters, it can put a ton of early pressure on your opponent. It's kind of like her S3 is Basar, and then it has that crown stun on everybody with a reverse provoke, and it's all built into her kit. So I think she's really viable. And like Kenny said, she can be slotted into wherever Basar could be. You can also take her and not have to worry about the opponent taking Holiday Euphine too. So I think that's another strong suit for her.
Yeah. I think she'll be quite difficult to deal with because there's a lot of like, once you land provoke, right? Like you're kind of fucked because her S2 is going to proc no matter what.
Especially with all the control units, right? Coming out.
Yeah. So very good for aggressive comps.
Have you guys seen her on defense at all, though? Do you feel like she's a defense unit that you can use, or is it mainly for like an offense unit kind of thing? You see her in any Guild Wars defenses?
I think people are trying her on defense. Guild War. I've also seen in Arena too, actually. It's an interesting one where somebody went her into a fast Landy, which you can't counter, right, on Landys S3. So you can defense break your like CZ and like just take out your whole team. Doesn't matter. That was interesting.
I've seen her in Guild War defense teams. Basically, is just a speed unit, and so they put her in one team, with a unit like Arby or something, and then in the other team they use another really fast unit. So they force you to have 2 speed units to be able to, beat both of their rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she does a little bit more than Basar on like Guild Wars defense, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of the PvE content, it's very hard to like, create these like wide scale, coverage defense teams. And I think in terms of what a mage does, I think FT Tenebria does it better than Basar, and Basar's already, a pretty solid unit on defense. Definitely great in PvE and definitely great on PvP. And if you have too many extra copies of her, you can imprint your stunning. So you really can't go wrong with this unit.
True. Oh, actually, speaking of, so aside from the unit itself, let's start with Tao this time. Artifact-wise, have you seen any usage in her artifact now?
I have not personally used the artifact. Yeah, I'd rather put her on like for PvP content specifically. I think Book and Abyssal Crown has much more higher value.
Yeah,
but maybe there's a spot you can cheese Abyss in somewhere down the road that you need that kind of like extra damage, I guess.
This might be jumping ahead, but I think her artifact could be good on a unit coming up.
Ooh, okay. Well, okay. Well, okay. Okay.
But as of now, like, no, I haven't seen anyone run it successfully.
Okay, I'm curious what your thoughts are there. I didn't think about that, so okay. All right. Does anyone have any more thoughts about that? It was a little bit of a recap just to see what your thoughts are now that the unit's been out for a little while longer.
Yeah, I think in general, if you haven't pulled for her yet, you definitely should have pulled for her by now.
Yeah,
she was
very
such a strong unit.
And she's already gone.
Oh, well, you had 7 minutes to pull that earlier, so hopefully you pulled it. And if you did not, maybe she'll come back next year.
Next year.
Yeah. I'm surprised because that was one thing I was surprised about. Usually limited, they're there for 3 weeks. For some reason, this was only for 2 weeks, as far as I counted, unless I count it wrong. So,
yeah, that's a good point. And they have her side story next week, right? Or tomorrow?
Like this week is still like part of like her side story.
Yeah,
which,
that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why they ended her so early. Yeah,
she was too good. Unlucky.
Too good. Yeah.
Honestly, that banner was such value. Like it was such a good banner.
That's true. All right, so this is gonna be a weird one. It's not officially out yet, and it's not guaranteed, but I did want to go over it a little bit. What are your thoughts on the new Automaton tower change that'll be coming? And this is in regards to how they're changing Automaton to 25 floors, 5 levels on each floor, and it's going to be a bit of a rogue-like thing, it looks like, right? You get buffs, you can go through it. All right, what are your thoughts? Likes, dislikes? Do you feel it'd be difficult? Do you want it to be difficult? Any other additional thoughts?
I don't want it to be Abyss difficult. Like, Abyss is difficult for the wrong reasons. Abyss feels like on the new floors, you have to flip a coin, and you have to get heads like 30 times in a row. And 29, you get tails, try again. So I don't want that type of difficulty. I think it's a little weird how they change Hellraid from like every week to once a month to reduce the amount of stuff we had to do.
Yeah.
And now they're making Automaton Tower more frequent. So I don't know. I think as long as the rewards are on par, it'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll get 88 accessory box, I guess. So that's
exciting.
Yeah, that's a jump up in reward.
Yeah, I forgot about that actually. Yeah, so I guess it's good for. So the thing is, I don't know what the difficulty will be, but like
it's hard to say.
It'll be good for with the 88 gear. So
I wonder. Yeah, I mean it does the same thing as Genshin's Abyss, right? Basically, you can't have you don't heal full health between floors and stuff like that.
Oh,
and if you lose the unit, you lose the unit. So it sounds like it could be pretty challenging content at the same time.
Yeah, the new mechanics could be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Do we know if the items, the 88s, do they have predetermined substats, or are they just random, like Hellraid drops versus the shop?
I feel like it would be random. Maybe similar to the current box. Like maybe it has the main
Yeah.
stats, but subs are random.
Because if
Mm.
they're random, they're probably just going to be garbage. But like the reason the Hellraid shop is so good is because they start with really high rolls and really good substats.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
true.
They should do like a
I
one-time
think
reward
random
with
gives it
fixed.
more like diversity, right? Like obviously the Hellraid pieces are like very high value items because their subs are so good. But sometimes having different sets gives like more leeway to different builds, right? Like sometimes if you have a random lifesteal chest piece or something
Mhm.
added there, or like a ring that you might need
Yeah.
for different units, whether it's your you want to build lifesteal CZ or like lifesteal MLV or lifesteal T Surin, you have those different substats to kind of pick and play around. That's more rewarding like PvE content in my opinion, especially for the people that don't want to spend too much going to one specific hunt to get all a gear for one specific unit, right?
It's kind of true though. Like Playcat says in chat, random can be better though. So like, if it's random, you have the chance. Obviously, it can be worse, but then you also have that chance to better than set stats now, different more pieces of items. So like, they both have their pros and cons, I imagine. So instead of like guaranteed them.
It would be good if they gave like one set of fixed stat stuff, like when Hellraid came out. Like the first stat they gave
Oh, I
when
see
you
what
play
you
the
mean.
boss for the first time. Like that would
Yeah,
still be
that,
nice to have.
that Queen neck is OP.
That would be cool.
That's true. Oh, like so. I wouldn't mind that. I mean,
Random
granted,
thought.
all of my pieces from Hellraid rolled like trash. So,
Oh, rip.
but I think it would be nice if you have a guaranteed first time reward when you
yeah.
mutation thing. That'd be a cool idea, actually.
I don't think they say anything about it, so probably not.
Not that I've seen.
Yeah, it would be good.
Yeah. Aside from
Are
that,
they keeping the molas?
ooh,
That's
good
what I care about,
question.
the molas. They take those molas away.
Just get from Warboss.
What the heck?
Buy the Mola pack.
It seems they still have molas, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if they take out the molas, I'd be Yeah, that's a good source of molas. I don't think they would do that.
I hope not.
I guess the other part is in terms of difficulty, right? Like, so you like Mace was talking about how it doesn't want. Well, I guess not just him, but most of us wouldn't want it to be like abyss difficulty, right? So, actually, just to I guess theory craft over. Like, how do you feel like a difficulty? Like, what's a good difficulty to have it at? Like, what kind of mechanics? How to do it? Because abyss is what I call artificial difficulty with the RNG. So, I don't know if you guys have ideas. This is kind of
It's tough because it's really a game designer question, but
yeah.
I think you need to design it in a way where it can be a puzzle, and once you solve the puzzle, it shouldn't take you 20 attempts with that solution to beat it, which is what we have with Abyss. So I think the fact that they have those passive buffs could be a really good way to balance that out. They could guarantee effects happening. So you have floors in Abyss where you need to land like multiple poisons, to kill the boss. You could have the mechanic like guarantee that happens and remove the RNG element, but there might be a strategy in making sure that happens, either your team composition or something along those lines.
Okay, that's
I
an
mean,
interesting
I think
idea.
I think that would be good too, because like when you're investing in like there's a sunk cost investing in different units, right? And if
Definitely.
you want to like, let's say you invest in Kieran, that's specifically only for like PvE, right?
Yeah.
And I think because we know that the tower is going to be a recurring monthly thing, you don't really feel like you're losing out on value from investing in this one unit that will be useful for different sorts of maybe if they change the buffs monthly or bi-weekly or things like that. You don't know, right? And you still have value for that Kieran outside of just okay, I've cleared Abyss 110. Now I have nothing to do with the Kieran anymore, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be pretty cool, yeah. But it's also like I think E7's in a great spot from like a game just like perspective as well, because they don't have to add too much innovation to the game. They already have older games such as Summoner's War, like other games in this specific category that is like way progressed in terms of the game lifespan in front of them, where they can kind of see what works for them, and then you just take it and add a little oomph to it, right? And spice it up and make it fit into like the E7 category, right? And I think that's like the like really strong position that Smilegate has in terms of developing this game from a game designer perspective, right?
That's kind of true.
I know in Hearthstone added their adventures, it was a similar kind of roguelike thing where as you progress through, you'd get different powers and abilities, and that was like the best part of it. It was super fun.
Yeah, I
So
remember
I'm
playing that
excited
when
to
it
see
first
what
came
they
out.
do.
Yeah.
I think it could be awesome.
Lil G says something in chat that's interesting, so bring this up. So he says, make it easier, but don't show what the enemies do. So that way, like, go in, you have to figure out the mechanics itself for the stage. So like, you don't know what the enemies do. Like normally right now we can see the boss skills, right? It's an interesting thought. I feel like that could be
I just
something.
look on Reddit.
I mean, a lot of the times we actually don't see all of the skills for mobs that go with the boss already.
Yeah, that's true. Half the time I read it and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
I think that targets it towards like a specific kind of person though, right? Like I like playing PvP stuff. So like I like playing RTA and things like that. So I wouldn't actually do like, the Abyss levels until like people have a clear cut strategy like printed out for me. So if that's the case, right, it stops a lot of people from actually doing this kind of content because they don't want to do it right away, right? And it makes it like it kind of pushes it back, right? Like the people that like doing the PvE content and solving things, people like Jatai, right, who would like do all the Abyss floors in the first day, like they'll rush to it, right? And I'm gonna sit here, wait for Jatai to do all the hard work and then copy it, right?
That's
and like
fair.
I feel like that takes away a lot of the original oomph, right?
But I feel like so the thing is, I feel like that's split because of the fact that there will be the people who want to do it right away to figure it out, and it gives them content to create. So that's half of that. And then the other part is the people who, obviously like don't want to bother figuring out themselves, right? They want to just, finish it, right? Those people can then like, watch their videos or whatnot, or, go on Reddit, whatnot, and figure out, know what to do already, and then go through there like.
But I feel like it's a little unfair, right? Because in E7 you have to invest in these units, right? It's going to cost you molas and Phantasma and all that other stuff, right? And because it costs something, the people that aren't doing it as like a pioneer, like they're going to spend a lot more resources, right? So then people would be less inclined to do that content anyways. I personally still have not done any of the Abyss Towers after 100.
What?
So
they're painful.
I'm an RTA player, right? Like, so then like if you have more and more people wait, this isn't the kind of content that would generate excitement in the community, right? So I feel like there is like a reason not to do stuff like that.
Okay.
I think something they could do that would be exciting is the powers that you unlock on the different floors could give you like temporary molas for your units that you've taken on that path to let you experiment and play with units that you wouldn't otherwise, invest in.
That's fun.
That's actually
but they probably won't do
interesting
that.
idea.
It's an interesting idea. I don't think they'd
because it's only but there'll be like only a specific section
and
of
then
PvE.
When it ends, it's over.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
That's actually a pretty interesting idea. It seems kind of cool. Temporary molas, so people can actually try out new units if they wanted to, right? That kind of thing. That
only for tower,
yeah, but it'd be for tower, right? Not PvP.
Right to SG.
Right to Smilegate. All right. Let's go to the third topic. So getting into a bit of the newer stuff here. CarmainRose, question mark. So Tao, since you're the casual player, even though you made Legend, right? You made Legend in Arena once before.
I mean, I climbed, but I didn't like try to refresh this day. No.
Yeah, like
I just climbed for promotion stones.
All right. Yeah. What are your thoughts as a casual PvE player? No. Okay. Yeah. What are your thoughts on CarmainRose, Tao?
I'm a PvE. Okay, I am a PvE player. I think she's a very good free to play like Bazaar substitute for like new players, or if they need like a strip and stuff like that. I think. I think endgame players don't really need to work on SE, and I like it if I don't have to work on every single SE that comes out, because I think they just sometimes they cost so many like stamina and time investment. Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So skip for me, but I think useful.
Useful for newer players who just started the game. Okay.
Or if they don't have Bazaar and they really want to, open with a strip kind of team. Yeah.
What about you guys?
I don't know what she does. I don't know.
What?
Wait,
not,
wait, wait.
not relevant to you.
I think this goes to show you where she stands, right? Like,
Oh, okay, fair.
I mean, okay, wait. To be fair, if you don't have too many fire units and you need a world boss unit, maybe this is your go-to fire unit, right? But
World
I, for
boss.
one, do not need any more world boss
I see a
units.
unit for world
If you
boss.
literally need a unit to hold 6 pieces of gear for you.
See, here's the thing, right? I'm the kind of person that still puts Arby on the world boss team, so there's not even a slot for her, unfortunately. So I don't know. I don't know what she does.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
She doesn't make any sense to me. She looks like a unit made to kill Golem, which is a hunt that's not even worth farming, and you would have to go through the investment of her specialty change to get her there. So that's a lot of work to farm a hunt that you probably shouldn't be farming anyways.
Yeah, that part's also. Apparently people. I've heard apparently people farm golem from.
There are people who do.
But
Yeah.
those
people
okay.
people who don't look at Reddit or Discord probably. So they probably won't see this podcast.
All right, yeah, everyone in chat. Yeah.
I'm sorry if I
you guys-
triggered anyone with my Golem opinion.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I did find her a little strange, and one thing I'll point out is, I really don't understand one of her runes. It's well, sorry, maybe two of her runes technically, but one of them says speed rune, that increases critical hit damage, which was strange wording wise. That's just wording wise. Secondly, achievement rune, 5% chance to grant increase greater attack. 5%. I mean, I guess the 5% will proc, but sometimes, but like it's just so
Seems super
unrelevant.
random.
Maybe if you put her on defense, it will proc every time. Just kidding.
That's big brain.
You're actually not wrong there. That might actually be true.
Put her on counter set too.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Good stuff. Always procs.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like, she definitely has a bit of a weird kind of. I found her specialty change a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it.
The kit synergy is strange.
Okay,
Pretty
wait.
much every specialty change to date has had kind of like a clear direction to it. And then she came out and I was like, what is this for? Like, is she really just to kill Golem? It was weird.
Yeah.
All right, so I took a look at the Thursday content notes, and I noticed that no, hold on, this is very serious. So when she's in her you know how like you have like that like the C skills kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So Sky King, let me ask you this: do you agree that FT Tenny is at least S tier on the tier list in terms of like where these units stand currently?
Like as a stripper kind of control unit.
Yeah.
I agree.
So now FT Tenny does 100 damage on these puppets. SC CarmainRose also does 100 damage on these puppets. They're literally the same unit. It's kind of insane. They actually have the exact same damage output. That's kind of nuts. I think this is worth the investment. I'm not going to be the one that builds it first, but someone in chat, feel free to build it out.
I can't believe that. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So chat, whoever builds it, yeah. Let us know how you how the damage stacks up on those dummies afterwards. I mean, yes, on the yeah. Okay. Moving on from that. So, thoughts on Archdemon's Shadow? Not even Mercedes. Archdemon's Shadow.
Archdemon Shadow. So I think going back to this, I think it brings us to a point where we have to evaluate like the most recent few ML5 units that come out, right? And unfortunately, we see this current trend where a lot of these very underwhelming ML5 units get buffed, right? To the point where they seem absolutely ridiculous. Now, in Archdemon Shadow's case, right, she has this unique spot where she can seal off a unit's passive, right? And that's pretty cool. That has its like own unique benefits. But keep in mind that this is not something like a silence or anything like that, right? So it has the unit still gets to move and do whatever.
Mhm.
And to me, that seems very underwhelming, right? In terms of just blocking out a passive for one specific use. Because
Yeah.
units are still going to be usable and still useful after you seal off a passive, right? Just because you lock up a T-Cern's passive doesn't mean that you can kill her just right away, right? She's like maybe she's on Moonlight Dreamblade, or maybe someone cuts, right? And like because of that, it makes it very underwhelming. But the problem is that in something like if you compare it to what Taokonn did when he first came out, if you add a stun and a slow debuff to like Archdemon's S3 or S1, like that makes the unit very powerful, right? And because we know that there's this trend where Smilegate is inclined on buffing these ML5 units to reach a strong status, I feel like in a lot of these cases, these ML5s are almost always going to be a must pull unless they're severely like well tuned for what they do.
It's a pretty brilliant business model because you don't know which ones are actually going to get buffed.
Yeah, pull out all of them.
Well, I think you have like a pretty good idea. I think for the most part, at least for me, right? When I think about things that will not get buffed, one of the more recent ones I think that is underwhelming for a lot of people is Operator Sigrid, right? In some spots she's very good, but in other spots she's not very good at all, right? And when you think about Operator Sigrid's kit, right? She's really good at what she does, right? And because she's really good at what she does in that niche spot, she's not going to necessarily. I don't foresee her getting buffed anywhere near in the future because she's already like a strong unit, right? But then you have like even though she's underwhelming in maybe different other drafts, right? Maybe she's not good in standard, but in cleave she's very good, so she won't get buffed in my opinion. And so when you look at something like this Archdemon Shadow, and again I really think that she's very underwhelming because of the lack of things that she does in terms of other ML5 units, even though she offers a unique role in a team, something very similar to what I consider like Berseria in terms of niche uses in RTA specifically, then I think she's just very keen on getting buffed somewhere down the line. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Obviously, I don't work for Smilegate, so I can't really say what's going to happen. But just based off of like some things that have happened beforehand, I think it's pretty easy to assume that she probably will get buffed some down the road.
It's a fair assumption.
Yeah.
The seal is a unique mechanic, and I guess it was in Summoner's War, which I never played that, but I heard it was powerful there. So I think she has potential. I think she's also a unit that we're going to have to play with to see exactly how good she will be. Whether she'll be good and a decent pick in niche situations or just not really drafted at all, I think is still TBD. A lot of people saw what she did and thought, oh, like that's an SSB counter, because it'll prevent SSB bad backs. But, SSB will still, I think, be a huge threat even with that, because like Kenny said, she takes turns. What if somebody puts up immunity and then she doesn't do it? What if you get 15%ed and then you have to use Archdemon Mercedes S3 and now you just triggered SSB's bad back? A lot of units have kind of minor passive abilities that you could turn off, and that might be, kind of strong in some situations, but I think it's going to be really difficult to build her tanky enough with enough damage and fast enough to be a threat all by herself. So she's kind of going to fit in kind of like a spot where maybe Dizzy would, like a tanky debuffer who can kind of add some control elements, but she's nowhere near Dizzy level of oppressive with her debuffs. Dizzy counters with her S1 and she can just stun the entire enemy team. Archdemon Mercedes counters and she can prevent one unit from doing a passive maybe.
That's kind of okay. Yeah. I think one thing, so just real quickly for people that don't know, the reason why this was Seal, quote unquote, Oblivion was good in Summoner's War was because it came from a unit that you could get free to play, essentially. Yeah. So that's a very big difference. While this is limited now on a specific ML5, which does change the impact a lot more from that. I think one of the other things here is the biggest thing for me is the seal isn't reliable unless you soul burn.
Yeah.
And I think what it comes down to it, right? Like, there's a lot of people that can do, like, I guess, like, they won't do a similar job, but you'll still get the same effect, whether it's protecting yourself or, like, let's say, extinction on RB, right? You don't need seal for RB. K-Ron, if you run, like, like stripper like Cerise, whatnot, you can strip him, you can stun him, you can try to control him with her. Like, there's a lot of different ways to, deal with a lot of these units. I don't know if, like, I would necessarily rely on her. That's the biggest part for me. And I saw someone say this in chat. I agree, right? I also don't like the fact that a lot of us now have to hope for a buff to be convinced to pull for her, right? So I'll be honest and say, if you like the character, pull for the character. Right? in that kind of scenario, right? If you don't care about skill kit, you don't care if you're OP or not, right? So don't get me wrong there, but as a skill kit itself wise, it is a little underwhelming, I feel like. But then the fear, as Kenny said, kicks in that if they do buff her and she becomes OP, like they add in a double debuff onto her S3, now what? Right? Now, so that's the scary part there. I don't want her to be I guess I don't mind because I don't care about her. I don't care if she's the first sacrifice. If she's not good, maybe when she comes out, actually we realize she's really good, right? It doesn't matter, change. But if she's actually not good, right, quote unquote not good, right, then I don't mind if they don't buff her. But,
do you think she'd be better on speed or counter set?
I'm actually kind of curious about, like, I think no matter what, I always default to speed set because it's always reliable. But I feel like counter set could actually be good, like running like a bruiser counter one. Could be pretty interesting, like with her skill kit, with the seal itself.
I'm not a huge personal fan of counter. I think it's very unreliable. I think the only time where I actually would say the counter set is okay is in a case like Fire Ravi, when you have like additional like things to help her, like the EEs, for example.
Yeah.
I think in the most part, like especially like again, I'm just speaking strictly from like an RTA standpoint because that's the content that I play in. Counter is very unreliable, and the fact that you can't control when you counter, if it's not a high damage unit, then it makes it very underwhelming, right? Because it's just an extra stack for whatever that the unit might be, right? Sometimes the extra turn that you can't hit or the extra S1 that you can't control might push up a unit if they have Idol's Cheer or things like that. Like it brings up a lot of unnecessary, like I think negative RNG to your game, which make you worse off for the most part. So I think if you look at her stats and I think it's like the same as Bassar, right? Then I think the speed, build's probably the best, especially if you want to cycle the S1s. But again, you can get like 15 presented and like things like that. And I think the soul burn, I'm not really keen on like the E7 verbiage at all, but I'm pretty sure it's the same as the Alencia soul burn, right? Where it's not ignoring Ifres, it's increasing your
making
effectiveness,
100%
right?
chance. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not even guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe she'll be good. Maybe she won't be good. But a lot of the times in the current state of the RTA meta, in my opinion, it's you already pick counter picks, right? So when you're already picking counter picks, do you really need another unit to seal off a passive? Like, is that really gonna? You're gonna take away one of your 4 slots on your team just for a chance to seal off a passive when you could just pick a counter, right? Like, I don't know. It really goes like hand in hand with like what you value in a team. And for me, I feel like the value for a unit like that is just so low that she's very obviously going to get buffed sometime down the road. So for me, like I would probably pull for her with the with the intention that when season 3 RTA ends, like last week of season 3 RTA, I'm gonna bust her out and she's gonna be OP and I'm gonna get legend because of it, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think she'd be a good pick into Rylet?
I mean,
because doesn't seal land before the hit happens, so she's able to seal him off.
He does
without his evasion, so she gets around his evasion with the seal.
But you have to hit, right? That's the problem. He still has evasion when he starts.
He does. It would, I guess, prevent him from proccing evasion then the next time.
So in this specific case, right, where you see some kind of value with a seal, right? You ask yourself this: a lot of the times when you think about dealing with sorry if I go on a tangent here, when you want to deal with a Rylet, right, you either ignore him to the very end when you can one shot him, right, or you have a reliable way to do more damage up front, right? So when you have a chance, let's say you even put on like Oath Key or something to hit him higher, right, or that new guild, the new GVG artifact, right, to hit him higher to make it less than a coin flip. Is it better to, try to land that seal at a 40% chance? Or is it better for that S1 or the S3 to go on the Rylet to proc his extra stack to do more damage, right, with the S1? And you can just burn him down faster, right? And I think if you look at things from a statistics level, you almost always want more damage than a chance to do something that's not always guaranteed, right?
Well, I think the seal, as long as it procs, goes on him.
Yeah, but then you have to keep hitting him then, right? That's the thing. You don't have a guaranteed chance to hit him. And even if you take an Oath Key for a higher chance to hit him, it's still not guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
Does the seal land regardless of it?
It happens before, so I think the seal is like Flurry's S3.
Oh, it's like a
If
flip.
it misses, yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's not a hit. The seal
Oh,
It's
doesn't.
not a hit.
They say it's like the same as
Yeah,
Melissa's skill.
Oh, so it is a debuff first, then hit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I think if that's the case, might be a little more in question for a rally counter. Maybe, I think. Because
I think
he's
it's still a
look-
little awkward.
75%.
Yeah, it's still a
He
little
still has
awkward.
evasion when it
yeah,
goes
he still
on.
yeah, because you run him on an evasion artifact, right? So it's still kind of
Right.
like
And he's going to have,
Yeah.
the protection from his current evasion all the way until he takes a turn, which some high percentage of the time your cleanser, if you bring one, is going to be able to move and just get rid of the seal.
Yeah. And 75% is just hard, I think. Like,
okay.
to
I
be
actually
an
didn't think
opener.
about this. Okay, so if the debuff does go first, I think there
Yeah.
might be a case where she might be pretty good, or it might make Ryla bad. So that's right. No.
I mean,
this
he
is
already
the
never
thing, right?
evades. So.
Because like sometimes when Emil Haste and Emil Lulica came out,
Mhm.
it didn't make them specifically better. It made RB worse, right? So because she exists, it might not make her a better unit, but it might make Ryla a worse unit. Does that make sense?
It does.
No, it does. Yeah. That's actually interesting. Okay, so, I'm curious now. I guess she definitely has a lot more applications in that scenario where, I mean, the biggest issue is still, I guess, not the 100%, but with that said, being able, like, you don't have to hit them, so it helps with certain heroes.
I guess it's where counter becomes a bit attractive. That's why some people were thinking about that. But yeah, I still think speed is probably the best.
Yeah, I think even if you run her on counter, you'd have to build her like Dizzy, where she's still around 200 speed.
Yeah.
Because if she's on counter, people are going to do their best to ignore hitting her.
Just be a 250 counter.
Too easy.
Yeah, let's whip out our 250 super tanky counter sets right out of the... Yeah.
I'm glad I have 2 or 3 of those lying around just for this occasion.
So,
just kidding.
That is something, though. I think, okay, with everything added in together, right? Fairy Tail Tenebria, right? Silverblade Armintha, Cerise buffs, Archdemon Shadow coming out. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like everything is shifting more and more to a control meta, even harder now.
Yeah.
With this being said, like, a little scary for me because I hate control meta, but that's a little scary to me. Not to mention, well, RTA changes too. So, okay.
Yeah, I think control's in a pretty good spot. I mean, like, I think this is also indicative of how strong the control counters are. And I think right now, like, units like Fighter Maya are just super, super strong, right? And the reason why they're strong is because a lot of people are playing control. So I think control right now is like probably one of the more dominant like play styles to play.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully there are counters, and I think there are ways to deal with it. It's just like whether or not you want to invest in those units to like actually build up, right? Because you can not only build like F Maya, but you can probably have if you run like a turn 2 team, like which is really popular, I think, in a lot of the season 2 RTA meta. Like you can run like something like Kitty Clarissa or maybe even DJB just to get the first turn like cleanse off, and then you can scale your team up that way, right?
And then have him do what?
But I think like
and then have him do what?
I mean, I have my DJ
DJB.
When I used to play Arena.
People say DJB is an underwhelming unit, right? But DJB has attack scaling skills. So in Frenzy, he gets better and better. I don't know, like
so
he has dummy damage yet? That's the real test.
He does 100 damage to the training dummies too, though. So he's on the same level.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And he has stun.
And he has a stun. Dude,
OP.
Triple S rank.
So like counter Unity 250 speed.
Yeah. Counter Unity.
High attack. I'm just quoting Solara here.
Oh my god. One thing. Okay, I have a question. Do you guys feel like I was just wondering something? Do you feel like Seal? They're not gonna allow this work on PV.
It says only heroes. So
only
no,
heroes?
like.
It's only heroes. Yeah,
it's only heroes. Okay.
Imagine if you could heal like Seal, like very annoying mechanic.
I'm wondering if Seal would work on Abyss.
That would be amazing.
I was wondering. That would be something I would.
That would never happen.
Okay.
But they should allow it because like Spectre is like a cheat unit for Abyss. from like
Yeah.
100 onward.
Slightly, yeah. Spectre,
Slightly. You could soul burn her 5 times. What do you mean
yeah.
slightly?
Okay.
And
Oh, I actually, if we can just backtrack real quick, I saw
Yeah, go for
Pantry say something earlier about saying it's a 2-turn debuff for the M1 Mercedes seal skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a 2-turn debuff, and he asks, "Do you think you can gain traction even if it's 75%?" I think there's some value now that I know that the debuff applies beforehand, but I think 75% is still pretty uncomfortable. I don't like relying on a unit whose sole purpose is to get a seal off, maybe,
Yeah,
right? And
to
it
win you
only
the game.
lands, 3 out of 4 times that you use it, right? And that's ignoring 15%, or maybe if they have high res or cleansers, right? So I think that's still really hard to say. But in terms of like now, specifically in that case where you can use her to kind of counter Rylet maybe down the road, I think there's some value in it. But again, it depends on like the kind of comps you end up drafting, right? Because with that kind of comp, you will need something like a stripper, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, people and strippers don't reliably strip Rylet unless
Rylets.
it's a Clury, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard
And if
to
you're gonna
say,
use
right?
Clury, you've already technically nullified Rylet. Because with the defense
Yeah.
break, with someone that does sufficient damage, he's essentially dead anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah.
The fact that it lands before it hits, though, is huge for a lot of units. There's also a Taiwan, so it'll prevent
Yes.
a Taiwan from cleansing it off. So that's pretty big. But yeah, I think the 70% is going to make it underwhelming.
That's the biggest thing, right? Kurai says soul burn 100%. So even though soul burn is 100%, that means you either A, have to run book on her, which I doubt anyone's going to do because there's better artifacts to run on her compared to book. Or either B, you have to run a book holder for her to get that off first turn, or you're running her within a cleave comp / control comp, right? Cleave comp, I doubt she's going to do enough damage unless her multipliers are insane, so we'll have to wait for that. So the only thing I can really imagine this is control comp with a book, stuff like that, right? And yeah, she's not a turn 1 unit because her S3 needs focus, right, to use. So you can't even use her S3 right away. That's the other issue. That's the other thing, right? So she's definitely not a turn 1 unit.
I think Violin could be good on her. It gives her a little bit of,
With her
strippability.
passive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting, depending on what team they're in. And then, okay, so that's the thing, right? If it's a control unit, I feel like I probably just run a bit, or even Sierra Ren on, because of her passive. I don't, or Valin. I don't think I'd ever run book on her, just because I feel like with her AoE, there's much better use.
I just don't see her in a control team. She doesn't slow, she doesn't stun, she doesn't push back. Like if she pushes herself up a bit, I think it'd just be hard to make her fit.
It comes
She seems
more from
kind of like a bruiser.
Yeah, I guess I can see that too.
I think Control wants to like cycle as fast as possible from the get-go, so
Yeah.
I she might be good there. And I think that like brings the point of like whether or not she fits in standard. And I guess if you build her like really Omega tanky, right, and just have her for the seal,
Yeah.
like would you be better off filling that slot with something like this
Easy.
Archdemon Mercedes, or would you rather have something like slotting in like an I don't know, a Tywin or maybe something like an FT Tenny instead in your standard draft instead, right?
Yeah.
Where you kind of guarantee yourself not only like all this extra damage and defense breaks, but other like sort of AoE damage as well, right? That's hard to say for sure.
Laura says she's gonna be good with D and high attack for burn. So building her kind of like holiday UV. That's an interesting idea. I didn't really think. Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Maybe,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll definitely talk about.
I think she would be for longer fights. Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about her more.
Artifact.
I think over these next few weeks, like as she comes out, right? People are gonna pull her eventually. We'll talk about her more. See, because I mean, this is all just like speculation, right?
Waiting
in the past,
for the brave souls to test for us.
Hey, brave souls out there, yeah, whales. Let us know. Oh wait, Kenny, you're gonna pull for her. Oh, okay, Kenny, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess.
So when you pull for her,
I'll be the butt of all the jokes and I'll test her out. All right.
We'll test plus 15.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Plus
I'll-
15. Ooh. All right. So actually, it's kind of off a tangent again. I actually don't think it's wise to invest in units right now. I think you can kind of wait until the balance patch that comes out sometime
true.
next week
It should
before
be
you
coming out
start
soon.
investing, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people right now are like investing in a bunch of units. I do recommend you probably wait.
Yeah.
At least I'm
Yeah.
like saving up my resources personally. If you
Unless
want to
you will.
invest in, unless you want to invest in like your landies and stuff like that, you know, you do you. But maybe they're gonna buff another like fire unit. Who knows, right? So
Yeah.
I honestly
but Landy's
recommend if
worth
you
it.
have, if you have the time to wait, then I do recommend waiting.
Fair.
We find out tomorrow, right? Or is it Friday?
No. So apparently they said balance notes were mentioned in the Korean stream. I didn't hear in the English stream, so I don't know if they forgot to mention or whatnot. But if they mention the Korean one, either we find out this Friday or it's gonna be in like the next 2.
Oof.
But I'm not sure. I have to look at that. Didn't hear anything about it. Okay, so this is gonna be a random topic. It's really quick, very simple. I just want to talk about the recent quality of life changes. I just want to know your thoughts about that. I don't know if you guys saw the quality of life changes. One was really good. One was kind of questionable. One of them was that we can convert our cores. So the extracted cores, we can convert those to charms. I think that's amazing.
What?
Yeah.
Since when?
Well, it's coming out with this patch.
Okay.
I don't know.
Totally missed that.
There was no pictures or anything in the patch notes. It was at the very bottom, right? They
completely missed that.
They talked about it on the live stream with pictures, but in the patch notes, it's like at the very bottom in text. I'm like, where's the pictures?
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah. Second one, as Pantry says, why? When you go to craft Epicalis, it shows you the number on the side. Isn't that? Am I missing something? Or because news said this is an amazing change. I'm like, don't you just hold on to the callus to see what, like, it saves me like a second. Yeah, am I missing something here? Can you guys think of something that I'm missing? I just want, sorry, I have to roast New a little here because he was like, this is an amazing change. I was listening. I was like, what?
I don't really understand that.
Okay. I hope he was being sarcastic. Yeah, I hope he was being sarcastic because I was listening on the side, so I wasn't sure.
Was he talking about the charm change? Because that's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, the charm change is good though.
Wait, what's this change? Sorry, I kind of like.
It's how you can do the once a week. You can throw like equipment in and turn them into charms.
Oh
yeah.
They're
adding 2 more of those, but instead you get to throw in the equipment conversion gems.
Oh, okay.
Or not gems, but the mats you get from extracting your equipment.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because I've accidentally extracted some like hit gear and like other random crappy sets, and they trigger me every time I look at them.
Mm-hmm.
So I can finally get rid of them.
Yeah. In the beginning, I extracted everything.
Hit set is pretty good. 20% effectiveness. That's pretty value. I don't know.
Yeah, but you're not gonna convert hit sets, yo.
All right.
Yeah.
What do you guys prioritize in Epic 7? Is for me it's all about CP, right? And how do you get the most amount of CP?
Are you a world?
It's not immunity set. It's from hit.
You wanna
hit set is 20% effectiveness for more CP. Think about it.
I think you're like beyond the end game of end game where you're optimizing for ward boss.
You hit your 200k CP on like your Rylot or something. It's because you have hit set. It's not because you have immunity. That's all I'm saying.
Well, this is when you like start up the optimizer and then like just pull up a random unit and sort by CP, see what you have.
Kenny, you've changed.
Hit set is pretty great.
Look, you've changed.
Reddit karma is game changing, man. It's life changing. Let me just tell you. Gotta do what you gotta do for some Reddit karma.
Okay, true. Okay, yeah, Reddit karma. All right. All right. Well, what thing I'm gonna ask is
so people like you are the reason why where noobs are like, how much CP should I get on my units? Because they think that's important.
So, Kenny's the enabler that has everyone looking at CP to know if a unit is good. Okay, I see how it. Kenny's converting people to world boss.
World boss gaming. Let's go.
All right. One
Who
thing
needs
is
Legend RTA, and you have world boss rank 1.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like the quality of
chest
life?
Day 1.
Do you guys feel like the quality of life changes is gonna make this game too easy per se? That's one thing I kind of want to bring up. It's a little bit random, but
I think as the game ages and the general player base gets further and further down, like the projected lifespan of like an average account, I think it's fine. I don't think it's gonna make things
Mm.
way too easy,
Mhm.
especially knowing the amount of, at least in the current state of the game, how many resources it takes to invest in certain things. Just
Okay.
because I have an extra 2, 3, even epic charms, right, doesn't make my game easier, right? I still have to look for gear. I still have to get gold to, enhance the gear and like all that other stuff. So I think like even though it does make it easier from, when we first started playing back like 1 or 2 years ago,
Yep.
I think it's, in where the game's like where the current like end game or even mid game meta is, where you're just enhancing a bunch of gear, praying for like speed rolls and things like that, I think it's fine. It's just, good for everyone, right? All around.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I just want to bring like I really like the quality of life changes. I just
Mhm.
realized compared to a lot of games that I've been seen play whatnot, I've come to realize Epic Summon is a lot more generous than I maybe from when I first started the game back then. But Epic Summon is really generous.
Yeah.
It's really
I
nice. Like
think
it's
so.
really good for free to play players. It really helps people catch up.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the catch up is important.
Mhm.
Because now that the game's been out for a couple of years, people that are at the end of that progression are so far ahead of people that are just starting. You have to make
Yeah.
that initial progression faster, or they have no reason to play, right? Because they're never going to get anywhere
Mhm.
close.
That's
Mhm.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was it called? Lakari was actually. I know Yakuza was telling me about how Lakari talking about that. Like he recently started a game. There's other issues there that they. But all right. So open chat / off topic. Just gonna go over something real quick. Patrick has something here. He says knowing that Smilegate hasn't been nerfing any characters. How do you think the current state of RTA, as they continue to add more and more characters for every situation, direct towards you? Ken?
All right. So now, just to preface this, I don't work in game design at all. I work as like a risk consultant for one of the big four accounting firms. So I don't have too much experience understanding like like where things come from game design, especially at a corporate level, because Smilegate is a publicly traded company, right? So they have to listen to like other things outside of just the game state, like the healthy game environment for a game. So there's
Mhm.
always that overlooming like idea that revenue is going to take the priority over just the health or lifespan of a certain game, or in terms of like the mental state of the player base, right? Because we're a small sample size, right?
Mhm.
Legend RTA is only a handful of people, so
Yeah.
just to say, I just want to say that first before I provided any more like insight on this. So RTA right now, I think from me playing this kind of game, like a strategy game, is like it's very rock paper scissors, right? Where right now, there are synergies to the game that you can draft for certain things, but for the most part, I think it really is just picking a good solid counter unit that not only counters one or two things, but prevents certain things from being enabled in your draft, right? Because in RTA, because it is rock paper scissors, it's very much geared towards you know how to have the most amount of coverage for the most amount of situations, and that's how you succeed, right? That's why units like ML Ball, a Taiwan, ML Crow are so good because they're quote unquote oppressive, right?
Hmm.
I'm not an actuary, but okay. Going back to the question, so as they add more niche picks, now I think two things can stem from this, right? One thing that can stem is you know things that work on ladder, can work because they are a surprise factor, right? So when they add more and more characters and with no defining build for certain characters, right? Because you can build a unit any way you'd like. I think it gives more diversity in the sense that you can have these surprise units that do well, and even though they aren't, quote unquote optimal stats, they can work because they synergize very well with your box, right? Because if you have, maybe you run like counter a Taiwan or something, right, with pure damage, people don't expect that, right? And that might catch people off guard because it's damage. You can win because of that, right?
Hmm.
So I think for the amount of like for the people that invest in things like or that like to invest in these random builds that catch people off guard, then yeah, I think as more characters come into the meta, not only does it cement different shifts in the meta game, but it also adds you know the ability for people to climb by catching people off guard, right? So
Mhm.
there's like two sides to that coin, and I think both sides acknowledging both sides is still just a healthy thing to understand, right? Because I'm happy when someone picks something out of meta and beats me with it, right? Because I don't expect it.
Yeah.
But there's also the side where at the end of the day, it's very much just these skills cover and do so much that it makes it difficult to play against, right? Like Eska just said here, there's like a checklist of what you want to have for your team, right? And for certain people, that works, right? If you have your defense break, attack buff, and immunity, you have so much value on that team that you kind of just win, right? But for other people, it's it doesn't always work because there are these oppressive units in the game, and I think that requires more insight and research on how the game progresses going forward, and whether or not that provides a healthy environment for people to play in, right? But I think just from looking at it at face value, I think even though there are so many units that are good, it still works because the ladder isn't defined, right? Because people have different sets of gear, right? And because of that, then things can work well. And because even though there is a meta, people argue like, oh, Fire Cecilia is amazing, top tier SSS, right? And for me, I would disagree, right? But for some people, it works, right? And I think that's the beauty of where the meta stands right now.
Yeah, that's also something I talked about this a long time ago. Like, this is like, I think this dates back to, I don't know how many people watch this, like my very first or second podcast. This was with like Rec back then, like Legend RTA. But we talked about how like if RTA was to ever come out, the pool would have to grow. The pool of characters has to grow to allow all these different like combinations that would work, more things that would allow that, well, Kenny said, surprise factor, which is what we're getting at now, which is really nice. I feel like, granted, I feel like 4 stars, 3 stars, more of those would also be nice for people. Roz was a nice change.
Yeah, very strong.
Yeah,
and like Roz is very good.
Coming from like Tao, free to play. I think. So I'm always good.
My name is about to become free to play Tao.
Free to play Tao, yo, new nickname. Yeah, like I think a lot of these units are very good.
Yeah,
the health of the game. All right. Anything else you guys want to bring up? To be honest, like anything like.
Yeah, I just want to reemphasize how good Eska's checklist is. This is an impeccable strategy for RTA if you guys are just starting off. If your team your team has defense break. If you have attack buff, immunity, defense buff, a cleanse, a provoke, a strip, attack down, bury, and anti-crit. How do you lose? I don't know. There's only so many buffs in the game. Honestly, impeccable strategy. So, hey, strategy that works.
Fair.
Just follow the checklist.
Fair. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else you guys want to bring up that you feel like we could talk about, we could address? Like,
how do you guys feel about units with awakenings that have stats that don't really make sense for their build? I think this came up recently because a few of the most recent units have like ER in their awakenings, and it just doesn't seem to really fit their kit.
Yeah, I think it's a little outdated, right? Because the original like system was like pretty like implemented really early on, and I feel like at that point it's a little outdated, right? Do you remember like in the very first one of the very first patch or like dev talks or whatever they had?
Yeah,
they talked about how they wanted each individual character to have a niche spot in the game, right? But then as gear quality rose and more units were introduced into the game, that kind of system became a little outdated, and it just seems really off-putting, especially because these like I want to say awakening archetypes came out such a long time ago that you can't stray away from that unless they invent a new like sign, right? Like an astrology.
Yeah, because like they all stay the same, right? Yeah, and like that's one thing. Like if they put a character right and they have something that doesn't match, then it's like you can't just change that one character's sign now,
right?
Which is really otherwise it affects every other unit also that previously has a sign, right? Whether it's good or bad for them, which is I'm actually not. I don't know what they could do about that. To be like it have to
petition them to change.
Just this one character like or the full stars. I don't know.
They might need to just release new star signs.
Yeah,
but I think the danger there is power creep because right now we have the set ones that we have and they all have their base stats. If you release a new star sign and they don't make sure that those base stats are in line with the previous templates, then I think that's a recipe for disaster because you're going to get units that are just like stronger base stats. You put that big whale gear on and they're just going to overpower everyone.
That's true.
I mean, it's game for their game designer. job for their game designer.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like it'd be interesting to hear their thoughts about like, where they would go think about some stuff now. Like, what are their thoughts on that? Like, from the actual game designer's point of view. I think it'll be really nice to like hear. So we, I don't know if they want our feedback, but it'd be nice for us to be able to shoot feedback in a live stream of that, so the game designers can interact directly, right? Thoughts. So like, that's something I really wish they had, because I know some other games have that kind of stuff. Like Monster Hunter World did something similar back then. They would.
They
do
probably
that kind
don't want the guy to get harassed.
True, that is true.
I came from like StarCraft 2, and you just basically, the game designer's name just constantly spammed, and he just gets lynched for every single patch balance. Like, just
never mind. That
the same thing happened in WoW.
Really?
People get very, very angry.
Yeah, the PvP balance guy, I forget his name, but he just got roasted.
Okay, never mind. I take that back. That's kind of scary. Yeah, I fear. Okay, never mind. Okay, yeah. Jokes. I take that back. Yeah, be nice, but yeah, never mind. I don't want to see that.
Well, at least they're in Korea, so.
Speaking of balance, do you guys have speculation for who will be hit with the next balance patch?
DJ Bazaar.
DJB does need a buff. As much as
I do agree. I think all these units that are gonna get indirectly hit with like all the new stuff. Like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, DJ Bazaar, I wouldn't mind seeing a Mei Chloe buff. It'd be nice to see her again in the meta.
Yeah, I would like to see like the few units that I have get buffed.
Okay.
That's the free to play wish list.
Okay, all right. Who else is there? Okay. I don't really care about MLK. MLK can just stay. No one uses MLK.
I think RB does need a buff. I think with an introduction of SC CarmainRose, who has a passive gab, I think RB needs a buff.
True. I think this time when he revives, right, he should instantly get greater attack buff as a passive now.
They should give him a specialty change. Is what they should do.
True.
EE for RB.
Archdemon Vildred.
Oh my god.
that we're toxic. Okay, like what? Actually, let's not talk about ML5s. Well, okay, no. So ML5s, we know DJ Bazaar, right? I think that's probably the mind of a lot of people. RGB unit wise, like, is there any other units you guys want to see changed or buffed aside from Hate? That's
Mort.
Mort.
I think Mort does need a retuning. It's hard to say if he needs a buff, because I think he's in a weird spot, right? Where I think he does a good amount with Kid, but like he's just not it right now, right? I think RGB units are just a little bit weaker because of where they stand in general. But it's also like it's hard because you have like, I think the Smilegate like answer to buffing RGBs is adding the EEs, right? And I think one thing we can like look at in particular for this case is Fire Ravi, right? Where she was introduced with a very strong EE that completely outclassed another Fire Bruiser Knight that was pretty useful, right, at the time. And that's Fire Charlotte, right? Like, why would you ever pick Fire Charlotte over something like Fire Ravi? Now that Fire Ravi got an EE change, right?
Yeah.
And it's really hard. And that unit just got completely outclassed and it's almost unusable now. I don't know. It's hard because it's like there's so many things to consider, and like it feels really bad because there's so many people that invested into Fire Charlotte beforehand, and then it decided to whip out an EE for Fire Ravi, and now Fire Charlotte is just almost unusable, right? And then you have to consider that, like, all right, so if we want to make Fire Charlotte usable, we have to give her an EE now, right? And then like, is she gonna outweigh like this Fire Bruiser DPS? Not like it's hard, right?
That's fair. That's kind of fair. Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing more buffs to like 4-star units, to be honest. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to see more 4-star units pulled out and used. At the same time, I feel like most of the time we've seen any buffs, it hasn't made too much like 4-stars like super meta, right? Was there any that got changed enough that they were super meta?
Rose got a nice EE, I guess. It just made her stronger.
Rose.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. It definitely helped the people who Rose cleaves.
Yeah. Rose.
Yeah, it's a good point with Blue Rose.
Okay, yeah.
They did change Broman. Broman was pretty good for a period of time as well.
And Turin balance change was very good for her.
Oh yeah, Oh, that's true. T-Sern's buff was also.
Yeah. Not even an EE. She's just just
she
became
got
very
straight up
strong.
buff, yeah.
I'm down for Wanderer Silk buff. I want to build that. He's 6-star.
Wonder 6 is actually pretty cool. Her silver in S2 is pretty dope.
Yeah.
I built her for Abyss, and then she didn't even work.
What?
Now she's in the waiting room.
Wait, you build Wanderer Silk?
Yeah, it was for I think like floor 102, and it was her and a couple other units to like CR. I think it was the Celine floor to like CR push her back infinitely. Yeah, it was like her and Wanda, the Wanda specialty change one.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, well.
Don't do it though. It didn't work.
See, this goes back to our topic about earlier about changing to Archdemon Tower, right?
Yeah.
Wonder Silk has some value again. Who knows?
Yeah, but that comes with like Mace's idea, which I think is actually really nice. I'm not gonna lie, temporary molas actually sounds like a very cool idea. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
yeah. Can I get on a soapbox for like 2 seconds? Because I think the thing that this game needs the most is some sort of testing room where like an RTA mock battle where you can test out a plus 15 unit and you can like just do a little slider and say I want to have 4K attack and 300 crit damage and 200 speed, or whatever stats you want, and then just play against somebody. So that way like before I pull and I mola a unit, like how is it actually going to perform? Not having that I think is unfortunate.
I don't think that'll work because of the way that the game's designed, right? Like their money comes from building characters,
right? No, you're right.
So it's like it's a cool idea, and I think there's like value in it, but I don't know what ever happen, unfortunately. Unless they change their business model, maybe $5 a month for Epic 7 to get everything in the game. I'm down.
Wait, what?
Hey, subscription model, they do pretty well.
That's actually not bad.
You can you can rent a hero. It's like rent a girlfriend anime, but you can rent a hero every month. Sorry, that came out of the blue. Sorry. Anyways,
cue the opening music. That's a good up song.
Yo, yeah, I'm gonna use this for my opening. All right. Yeah. I mean, if there's nothing else, like there wasn't too much on this podcast this time, mainly for the fact that there was no balance patch notes or anything yet. So. Yeah, if there's nothing else, then I think I'll end it off here. I think it was pretty good. I got some good talking.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
All you guys give your own outro. So same thing, Mace, Tao, Kenny. Technically, everyone here is a content creator. So feel free to drop your socials or whatever method you want and for your outro. So Mace, start us off.
Cool. Thanks for watching, everyone. Mace1370. My YouTube channel is Mace1370 Gaming, so hope to see you there.
I have a Twitch. I haven't streamed much, but I would maybe try.
Once a month streamer.
And the username is Taokonn, the same as my ID. Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah.
The other once a month streamer.
All right, look. All right. So you guys can follow me on twitch.tv/E11ECTRIK. And so last year I said I was going to be a once a month streamer, and I didn't stream last month. But this year, all right, we're going to stream. The plan is to stream 3 times a week, all the way till the end of the year. So my next stream is probably going to be on Friday this week. No bamboozle. And see you guys there. Yeah.
All right. Appreciate that. And
very cool.
Aside from that, hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Peace out.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.